in this problem. And then after a while, I got to learn a lot about human nature, and I worked with a psychiatrist. Every Tuesday, I saw a psychiatrist public on television. On Wednesday, I saw a lawyer, and people would ask questions. And so sometimes people would ask these questions, be very involved problems. We go to commercial break, and I turn to Dave, the cameraman, and I go, so what's your advice to the caller, Dave? Shut up, get over it, get off. And I always thought that was the best advice. Yeah, I like it very much. And right next to the market.
Can you start from the beginning, please?
Critics, every time good evening, I'm Deanie Petty, and welcome to the Celebrity Club.
Thank you.
Our guest tonight is Helga Stephenson, a woman with a rather extraordinary career. I was going on the net and reading about all the things you've done in your life, and I thought, man, this woman's a real slacker, you know? I mean, but it's strange what pops out at me. Oh, by the way, people have asked, how long is this interview going to be? It's only 4.5 hours, or maybe, you know, depending on...
As long as you want.
As long as we want to go. There's a couple of things that popped out at me when I was looking at your history, and literally right back where it said your mother was a pioneer in the fashion world. And I was like, what is that? Because you were born in Montreal, but what did your mom do that made her a pioneer into the fashion world?
Well, she worked in textiles at the beginning, and before she had all these children, and then she went back to work after we got older. And what her great legacy was in the old days, fashion designers worked for clothing manufacturers, and they did not have a label.
Ah, okay.
And so what she did was she and Lisa Taylor, a friend of hers, started the Fashion Designers of Canada as an association, and she got the designers their label. So once they got their label,
that's huge.
It's huge. Then they could move. They could leave. They could leave the manufacturer. They were not dependent on the manufacturer anymore. They could develop brands. They could start businesses. They became independent.
They were unshackled because they were up to that point.
Because until that point they were totally shackled.
Yeah. Would it be easy if you just took it out and held it in your right hand? Because it's...
Yeah, because this thing is going to bug me. Okay,
yeah, there we go.
Okay.
And then the other thing that I noted was that when you were a teenager, and this I found odd, your father retired and you moved to Switzerland, and I thought, was he much older than your mother, or did something happen that he had to retire?
He was older. He was also a raging alcoholic, and so he was retired.
We have so much in common. But, okay, as a big bonus, you moved to Switzerland when you were a teenager?
My mother thought it would be nice, and we were 4 children in 4 years. We were in high school, and we were just told we were moving to Switzerland. So we moved to Switzerland.
But you ended up back at McGill.
Well, because I had to go to university, and I wasn't in the French school system in Europe, so I had to come back to Canada to go to university.
What prompted because you studied film and whatever at McGill?
English.
Oh, okay.
English, because film was just starting. I went to, Robert Lantos had the New York Erotic Film Festival. He presented that with Victor Lowy at McGill, and I trotted off to that.
Oh.
And it was that golden age of cinema where you walked down the street and walked into an unknown film, and it was Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, wow.
It was a golden age of cinema, so of course we all started running to the films, and we thought that if it flickered on his screen, it was fabulous. And the European films were coming in. It was a great, great moment. So I spent a lot of time in movie theaters. And
that, obviously, did you, while sitting there, think, okay, I'm going to be in this field, or were you just enamored?
No.
You were just enamored with the
I was just gaga. Well, you have to remember that in Quebec, you couldn't go to movies till you were 16.
Oh.
Because they had a terrible fire where a lot of children were killed. And so in Quebec, you could not go to movies till you were 16. So birthday parties were Gigi in the basement in 16 millimeters. The town hall, I grew up in town, I grew up in the town hall, they ran Saturday afternoon movies, which was like what Spielberg talks about. It's always some guy running through the swamps of the Everglades in Florida with, who knows what the plot was. And so you saw movies privately, and then, no, they weren't Gigi, they were Tammy movies.
Tammy, oh my God.
Yeah, that's what birthday parties were. And then finally they said that kids could go to the She works in philanthropy. She helps corporations and private family foundations give away their money.
Oh, that's very kind.
Isn't it?
It is. Well, the rich need to know what to do with their money, and it's nice
Yeah.
that they do something else besides spend it on trivial jets and things.
Exactly.
I was at the Chanel haute couture fashion show for Karl Lagerfeld after my first third world aid trip, which was into the Romanian orphanages when the
Ooh.
story broke. Yeah.
Ooh.
6 weeks later, I'm at the Chanel show, and somebody said, "Doesn't it bother you?" And I said, "No, I don't mind when people have billions and millions. I just hope that they do some good with some of it."
They do. Well, some. Yeah. But it's hard to give away money. It's not easy.
What do you mean it's hard to give away
Well,
money?
you have to do it properly. You have to do it in a way that makes sense. You have to do it in a way that doesn't create a whole other problem.
I have no idea what you're talking about because I've never given away large sums of money. Please. How can giving away a large sum of money cause another problem?
Well, because if you dump a whole pile, because if you not follow the stories of the lottery winners and the ruins that their lives are in 5-10 years later.
I've heard of, yes, I've heard of that.
Same thing.
Wait a minute, you're telling me that somebody has a huge amount of money and they give it away and they end up regretting it or unhappy?
No, the lottery winners, if you don't, money's a very tricky thing.
Yes, indeed.
And so if you don't do it in a way that creates peace, it's bad. It can create a lot of problems. If you talk to any lottery winner, they say it's great to have money that probably ruined their lives.
Wow, so I should stop buying those tickets because it could ruin my life? I don't think so, but I hear you. So you go off and have a child, and you take a 7-year break from the world. 7 or 8?
Something like that.
And then what brought you back?
I brought Human Rights Watch to Canada during that time. And then they wanted a film festival. So for 16 years I've been doing a film festival with them. I helped the Havana Film Festival because Havana is still almost my second home.
Aw.
The Icelanders called me because they were starting a festival and they wanted some help, and they said, well, she's Icelandic, go get her. And they said, will you come? And I did, so I've been going there for 15 years. Yeah, but the rays of sunshine are the things that keep you going. And there are. Under the most extraordinary circumstances, they keep you going. Otherwise, like you could just go and pull the plug and say bye-bye. I mean, no. I call it my annual audit, where I go around the world and I see all the documentaries that are being made about issues here. And I get fascinated by issues that aren't addressed sometimes, like the Armenian genocide. They don't do very many, if at all. And I meet very interesting people, and I feel that you see, with the international part, it's always very important to me. I would like to know what actually is going on, and I feel with Human Rights Watch, sometimes the filmmakers can be a little dodgy, but Human Rights Watch insists on the film going to the researcher in that region, in that area, and they check them.
Yeah.
And so when they say okay, then I buy in. So I have a guide, but I do like to know what's going on out there, and I continue to travel. I went back to Laos a couple of years ago, and I met my daughter when she was 24, in a town that I lived in when I was 24. It was very sweet. But what happened to Laos since I left is unbelievable. I wish that this country had 10% of their energy. It's extraordinary.
You have done so much in your life. Is there any?
It's not finished.
I know I was dead. Is there any? Do you have some unfinished? I want to do that. I got to do that. Is there any of that in your life, or you just?
You know what? I'd like to make a film.
On? You're just
I
making.
don't know yet. I don't know. I see so many of them and continue to see them. I'm a big fan of TIFF and because they're still the only place you can see both surely the festival, but even during the year, it's the only place you can see certain kind of film. That's it. That and with the documentaries, you can see them at the Ted Rogers on Bloor and Bathurst. But it's a hard slog if you like that kind of film. Where to find it? It's really not easy. You really have to track. You have to hunt and search and find, whatever. And really, I mean, the things at TIFF are not sort of fabulous in terms of, the numbers of people going to the Bell Light Box. But I mean, I can tell you that some of the summer series are spectacular, and you'll never see them again.
Do you want to make a story that is a documentary? Are you talking about a feature-length film, or
I'm probably a documentary, but
Okay.
I always think I should write a novel. But what? It brings up that old joke, with what was that? Margaret Lawrence at a party. She meets a brain surgeon. He says, "I'm retiring. I think I'm going to write a novel." And then she says, "Well, remember that?" And
Yeah.
she said, "Well, wasn't that interesting? I'm retiring and I'm thinking of taking up brain surgery."
I was looking at some of the statistics of television, and that I don't watch television anymore.
I live on it.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's great.
Well, I am older. Oh no, I should be doing more television. Because it's the older people are watching more television. The younger people are less and less of them are watching television. And last year, 2 years ago, when I traveled
No,
across...
you're talking mainstream broadcast television.
Yes, of course.
No. That's not television anymore. Nobody watches that.
I know, I was almost finished. I was saying nobody's watching television anymore.
No, they are watching television. They're not watching mainstream television.
Right. And when I traveled across Canada 2 or 3 years ago, I was shocked in all those mainstream studios I went to. They're doing 2 or 3 jobs, and they're trying to figure out how to integrate with the internet, and they're just freaked.
Oh yeah.
The world has changed so dramatically.
Absolutely.
Where do you see it going from here?
I don't know, but I mean, between Netflix, Crave, Prime Video, if I could get more, I would. I'd spend a lot of time watching television, and a lot of it is fabulous. I mean, I've been doing a Sally Wainwright festival. Sally Wainwright is sort of a BBC type, started as a writer, now she produces, writes, directs, now she's a queen. So I start with Scott and Bailey, Happy Valley, Last Tango in Halifax, and now Gentleman Jack. She's incredible. And it's all by women, about women, done by women.
You know, it's odd, when I said I don't watch television, I do Netflix and I do that.
Well,
I don't even consider that television anymore. Isn't that interesting?
Well, it is, though.
Well, because, yeah, I know, but from my background
No,
of
exactly,
mainstream,
yeah.
that part is going away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I watch the Korean stuff.
Yes.
I watch,
Like the Icelandic things. The
Yes.
photography is beautiful. It's such a different
Yeah.
viewpoint
It is.
on everything.
Yeah. And well, of course I watch the Icelandic stuff. I mean, of course.
From Reykjavik.
Yeah. And but there's extraordinary stuff on television.
There is, it's television being.
I always had a certain attitude and a certain mouth, so I was not hit upon so much. And I also had a job where people wanted something from me, so I was not hit upon so much. But it's extraordinary. I mean, if you go to CBC, it's all women. If you go to CTV, it's mostly men. If you go to Rogers, it's all men.
Yeah.
The different corporate cultures that exist in television right now, the studios, the rise of women is incredible. Because in my day, there was no female producers for sure. And the ones that were doing it were the arty people. As usual, they lead the way, and they led the way. They were the ones that broke a lot of the molds at that time.
I have a friend of mine who is...
But also in the theater world,
right?
also in all of those worlds. I mean, there are certain situations where we would say, put on your running shoes, because you'd be running. You're right.
This friend of mine who's in animation is being courted by people in Vancouver and LA. And she was saying to me, a lot of it is a result of the Me Too movement. They want more women. That's been a big propellant.
Yes, yeah. They want more women. They want more women of color. They want all kinds of things, and it's time to shake up the lens. You know, to widen the lens, to have more points of view. And I, you know, as much as I enjoyed my white privilege, I do recognize that its time is up.
Your advice to those wonderful young men and women I meet so often who are making a film and doing this, and they're just getting into this game now.
It's their language.
It
It's
is
their language.
It is.
You know, that this is their language. I mean, the thing that I lament is that lots of them are jumping in without any background. And so, I mean, one of the most important things that TIFF does with that Cinematech is it gives you background. It's like a kid with a paintbrush and no AGO. Right? You need to know who painted what and how it worked and things. The schools are incredibly, incredibly important. However, these voices are coming on strong. I'm helping on the board of a thing called POV 3rd Street, which is helping, I guess, marginalized young people get into the film business. So, it turns out a lot of these people are in Scarborough. And so, it's mostly black and Muslim. And there's some women, a few women in it, but now coming on stronger. And of course, now that I've been sensitized by basically Netflix and Prime Video and those places, I turn my eyes to a place like Scarborough and I go, oh my God, that place is a gold mine of stories. It's a gold mine of stories sitting up there, waiting to be told. In a world that, you know, I would argue that we know very little about. But rich in terms of stories, oh my goodness. And I tell them, I said, you've got the stories, get them onto the screen. It's an amazing, amazing place, and there it is. And I guess the most obvious thing is Stephen James, who was in Beale Street Could Talk, the young black actor from Scarborough.
Right.
And they said, well, you're from Toronto. He said, no, I'm from Scarborough. So, I mean, there is a thing, the rise of Scarborough, in terms of richness, story, but it's a whole other vision of what life in Toronto is.
Yeah.
So you see, my curiosity always drags me off to these places, and I meet these kids, and I meet these young people, and I go, you know, you've got it. You just need to get it on a screen. And So I'm very optimistic.
You seem like, I don't know you well, but what I get from you is you are, if you're left alone by yourself, you're happy, your natural state.
No.
Oh, you're a
No,
depressed
no.
personality
Oh,
under the
absolutely.
smile?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You live in angst?
Angst, fear. Sure.
Oh, you're just a human being then, after all. Helga's
Yeah. Yeah.
A
Just
beautiful one.
A beautiful one.
Well, thank you.
You must be, I don't know, are you satisfied you're at this age?
No.
Not satisfied.
No.
You're,
No, I want to do more. I'm trying to figure out as an older person where I fit in.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you find older women have a more difficult time fitting in, or is it an advantage to be older, or does it bring both things, respect and dismissiveness?
No, not respect anymore. No. That's gone. No. No. Old, white, and female is not a great place to be.
Yeah, I've come to notice that actually, Helga, and myself, really.
So no.
Ask her about the academy.
Oh, right, the academy. Oh, so this is where Suzanne and I had our last chapter. The academy was in a lot of trouble, the Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television. And so I met with one of the board members and they said, we're going to get somebody young and dynamic and this and that and everything. And I said, yeah, but in the meantime, who's going to keep the place together? And I said, I'll go in an interim basis while you
Find the young, brilliant. The town that built New York, where all the cement came from, and the other one on Mother Teresa, that took her 5-7 years to make. Your question, Ms. Petrie?
I'll just make a statement. The success of that documentary about Mother Teresa had to do with film festivals. It got its reputation first at Telluride, then Vancouver, and then Toronto, and then New York, and then Cannes, and it was just amazing, and it's still selling today. But my question for you is, I came back to this, but I noticed that shooting.
I think that I do not profess to be any kind of expert on this, but from what I see, the immediacy that is brought by the new cameras is incredible. And in fact, Huber Sauper, who won the Oscar for Darwin's Nightmare, and if anybody can ever get to see Darwin's Nightmare, it's an extraordinary film.
They saw so-and-so's latest movie. What was it about? I don't care. He was cool. He was cute. She was sexy. Welcome back. TIFF is keeping it happy.
No, TIFF it's crucial. It's crucial to life in Toronto, but it's crucial to anybody who cares anything about film. It's just crucial.
Yeah.
I mean,
People come back.
I spend my TIFF at the back of I call it the back of the book. Wandering around the back of the book.
Well,
So
And I looked, and over there is the town, and on this side is like where the wall is.
Yes, right. I do. In front of the table.
Da 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 da.
I didn't see you in my frame.